Good morning, friends. My name is Tandava, and it is a pleasure to be here with you all. The title of this reading, Who Are True Christians, is one that has always made me feel a little uncomfortable, I think just because it resonates with so much of history where people have really asked this question in a bad way and caused a lot of problems, and we've gotten ourselves into a lot of trouble over these kind of questions. I noticed as I was thinking about it, though, that I kept saying it in my head as, who are the true Christians? And then I realized that's not what Swami wrote. When you say, who are the true Christians, it feels like you're going to find one little sect, the first denomination of this particular church in this city who is getting it right and everybody else isn't. But that's not what he says. Who are true Christians? It's very general. We can all ask it of ourselves, no matter what church we belong to. Yogananda once said that he was very glad that Christianity did not decide to call itself Jesusism. Besides the fact that it just sounds bad, Jesus was the man, the name, that incarnation, but Christ, the Christ of Christianity, as much as we've kind of made it synonymous with Jesus, what it actually was his title. Christ, the Anointed One, the Messiah, the Savior. And if we take ourselves back to that level and talk about Christianity, what are we really calling it? We're calling it Saviorism, not Jesusism, Guruism. It's about having the teacher, the Messiah. And at that level, it's Sanatana Dharma, because that's what Sanatana Dharma, the eternal truth behind all religions, teaches, is that there is a truth, and some people are closer to it than others, and everybody on the chain helps the people below them, and we do get saviors and gurus and avatars who are there and one with God, are one with that light. But it's not even just them teaching all the rest of us. It's everybody all along a chain helping the people below them and being helped by the people above them. It's a continual thing. At Ananda's 50th anniversary celebrations, which we had just a couple months ago, we dedicated the new Temple of Light there as one of Yogananda's temples of all religions. And since then, I think that dedication event is what I've heard people comment on the most, as what they remember, what was just so amazing. And it was really beautiful because we had, I think, 6 or 7 speakers from outside Ananda. There was somebody representing Sikhism and Hinduism and Christianity and Buddhism and Judaism, and maybe I'm missing another one, as well as Jyotish and Devi representing our particular brand of self-realization with this line of masters. But it was truly a gathering of all religions. And I don't know about you, but sometimes I get nervous. It's like, wow, is everybody really on board with the interfaith thing? I hope, because I don't know these people. And they were. It was fantastic because they each came up with, their really unique presentation of something that they recognized was really the same truth among all of us. And Rabbi Ted Falcon was there representing Judaism, and he was a hoot. I recommend listening to all the talks. They're all on YouTube now. You can search for Temple of Light dedication, and find it. But he started out by quoting a few lines from Deuteronomy, which I cannot give exactly, but it was to the effect of, the truth, the light, has manifested as you. And he was saying how beautiful this is, that really points to the fact that there is only one truth among all the religions manifesting through all of us. And that, gosh, isn't it awkward that the Jews are the chosen people? But then I like the way he turned that phrase, because he said, the Jews are chosen for the way of Judaism, for the teachings of Judaism, for the way of Torah. Christians are chosen to follow Jesus. Muslims are chosen to follow the Quran. Everybody was chosen for their own particular path. So of course the Jews were the chosen people, so is everybody else. The way Yogananda put it was, God chooses those who choose him, which is also a very beautiful way of looking at it, because of course he also gave us free will and we can choose not to choose him. We can go run around and do our own thing for as many incarnations as we like. And God has eternity, to the extent that he even experiences time, but he'll just let us go do our thing, and when we're ready to choose him, he'll be there ready to choose us. But I liked Rabbi Ted's version also because it makes it more personal. We do have a particular path, and God is there waiting for us, but he also has our path ready for us, not just our religion, our church, but our own specific spiritual journey that we will take every step of the way to get to him. And having that event in the Temple of Light there was so beautiful because it tied in with the design of that new temple. And if you haven't been there, visit it and then look up at the ceiling, which is what I did during this talk. And it has a beautiful arched ceiling, similar to the arch above the altar here. It curves outward and then curves inward, kind of like our lives will go curve outward for a long time before we finally curve back inward. But when it gets to the center, it doesn't just come to a point, it comes to a skylight, and there's a beautiful glass cupola there at the top. So I looked up and I could see the beams of the ceiling curving gracefully, beautifully from all the different corners and going up and ending in what? Ending in light. Which it was a physical architectural embodiment of all the spiritual paths, which was just amazing to sit there and realize that in the middle of the dedication with all the paths represented there. Rabbi Ted again described it as all the paths are facets of a jewel, and they're all part of the same thing. They all just shed a slightly different light on the same beautiful thing. Just like all the beams of that roof were part of holding the whole temple together. And they go up and they lead you to see the light. But even that light that you see there is just the little window. The real light is above and beyond. And that's where Jesus and Krishna and Buddha and all of them are sitting. And they watch those little paths and they help us get on them and they just draw us right back up there. Swami Kriyananda, I'm not sure when this was many years ago, Asha tells this story. He went with a group of Ananda people to go visit another spiritual teacher at that person's ashram. I don't know who it was. And that group was making a very big deal of their spiritual teacher. And they had huge crowds who were just amazed at how wonderful this teacher was. And they came away from that event, and Asha was saying to Swami, wow, we don't have that many people coming to Ananda. Maybe if you let us follow you around with a little white umbrella and some palm fronds and everything and make a big deal of you, we could really get the show on the road. And Swami knew she was joking, but he answered it seriously. He said, I always felt that I could do more as a simple, unaffected friend, more to help people, not making a big deal about himself, which is what the reading today was talking about. Don't put yourself between people and the truth. Don't draw all the attention, all the energy to yourself as the teacher, because where is this teaching, this power really coming from? It's coming from our gurus, from God. And this is in spite of the fact that Master told Swami, you will teach people, you will have spiritual responsibility for people. It was not trivial. And we've all seen how much he created and how much he's helped so many people, but he would still always say, I may be your channel for learning about Master, for connecting to Master, but don't stop here. Make sure you get to Master. And Master, of course, was just a pure, clear channel for God as an avatar. towards the end of his life, Swami would say, I can't tell where my thoughts end and Yogananda's thoughts begin. And Yogananda himself would say, I killed Yogananda long ago. No one dwells in this temple now but God. And so they're just giving us successive windows so that wherever we are along this pathway heading back to God, we can see through them and see to where we are going and not get distracted along the way. And of course, Swami knew that truth speaks for itself. You can put it out there and people will decide to recognize it or not. And again, this is just the free will that God gave us to run around as much as we want or to recognize the truth and follow it. And so that's what he would do. He would just present it. And well, just to take a silly example of this first, when I was maybe in elementary school or something, my mother thought I would enjoy reading a book called The Black Stallion. And I didn't want to take her recommendation. And I think that was when I was reading all the books about dogs I could get my hands on, and this had a horse on the cover, so it's whatever. But she didn't push it. She put it on a shelf. And some months later, I came across that book and I went, oh my gosh, where's this been all my short life? And I read it, and I read the following 20 books in the series, and I loved all of it. But if she had pushed it on me, I would have just gone like, don't make me read things. Years later, I was in high school, and she gave me the autobiography of a yogi. And we weren't involved with Ananda at that point. Mom knew what she had in that book, but we weren't living near a center or anything. I had no clue about anything. She just gave me the book, and I gave it a shot, but I wasn't ready for it. And again, the self-control, I can only imagine, to just not say anything, just like, all right, it's not time. The truth is there, it's being offered, but she can't go up and say, do you know how much this will change your life? Do you know that in 20 years you're going to be standing up here giving a sermon on this book? But that's the way it is. God, through whatever channels, just keeps saying, hey, here's an option. Actually, the AY came to me one other time unexpectedly before I was ready for it. When I worked at Google for several years, a coworker there was a Buddhist, and one year for Christmas he gave everybody on our team a spiritual book, and they were mostly contemporary Buddhist books like Thich Nhat Hanh, Pema Chodron, things like that. But he gave me a copy of Autobiography of a Yogi. And at that time I still wasn't ready for it, didn't know what to do with it. I didn't read it. I've never gone back to look him up and say, what were you thinking? Did you know? Was this just an intuitive something that said, get him this book? And it just felt like, looking back on it, it feels like Master just sort of pops his head in every once in a while and says, like, hey, ready? No? Okay, I'll come back. But what finally did it was in 2007, again, my mother, bless her patient heart, invited me to come and hear Swami Kriyananda talk. He was about 81 at the time. He was passing through here on his way either to or from India, I forget. And Mom has always said that she felt it was her motherly duty to get her children in front of a saint at least once in their lives, and after that, it's up to God. And so she invited, and I came, and there was Swami being that clear window. And I had no idea what was going on. I was crying through a lot of it, not because I was sad, but just because I could feel, wow, something is happening here. Because there was something I was ready to receive, and there was nothing in Swami that was blocking it. And it was just completely flowing through him. I couldn't have told you anything he said afterwards. I couldn't even describe what it was that I was feeling, but I could tell that my life was changing. And like I said, I don't remember any of his words. I remember the blessing line afterwards. Everybody just came up one by one to greet Swami, get a blessing, and I remember there was a baby. Somebody was carrying a baby in the line, and the baby was crying and wailing up the line, and he gets to Swamiji, and Swami puts his hand on the head, and the baby starts giggling. That made an impression on me. And I was near the front of the line, and I was sort of nervous, and I don't know, what I experienced that first time, but I just went and stood off on the side after that blessing, and I was just crying because, wow, there is something here that I've never been able to see through other people. I had the distinct sense that if I made it to 81 years old and I was anything at all like this man, I would have done something good with my life. That was maybe my biggest takeaway. And then when the blessing line ended, I screwed up my courage and I ran around to the back and I got in the line again. Because again, I was just, wow, there's something here, because he was being an open, clear channel. And this isn't limited, again, to people of the stature of Swami Kriyananda. Like I was saying at the beginning, this idea of having a guru, having a savior in Sanatana Dharma, it doesn't stop with them. Swami Kriyananda helped and taught so many people who are still going around helping and teaching so many people, including me, including you, and we all have people we can carry this on to. I was recently made a light bearer, which for those of you who are new, the light bearers are the ministers who also give the blessings. So at the purification ceremony before service and at the touch of light that we'll do at the end, they'll be the ones up here giving the blessing. And that, getting to be in that role really makes me aware of what we have to do to try and be a channel, because it's my finger here doing this blessing, but I'm acutely aware that the blessings are not in my finger. I've been wearing this finger for 40 years and I can tell. I know it pretty well. But now I have a responsibility, because other people are here for an experience. And I don't know about you, but I find I often do better at things when I'm doing it for somebody else than for myself. And this is why we have service, seva, as such an important part of our path here, because it gives us a chance to set aside all our own personal desires, habits, whatever we may have, and focus on somebody else and let something flow through us. There's an image I like of, if you imagine you're going to throw a ball to somebody, and if you want to get just exactly to them and not any farther, it's going to land and they'll catch it and it'll have barely any speed to it, any power to it by the time it actually reaches them. But then think about a baseball pitcher. He's not aiming for the guy with the bat or the catcher's mitt. He's probably aiming 2 miles down the road. And that thing comes with force. And similarly, if we're thinking about ourselves and we want blessings and we're trying to do our meditations and get some blessings, it stops here. So we can get a little bit of energy, a little bit of power, but just enough to get here. If we're trying to help somebody else, all that power is going to have to rush right on through us to reach them, but there we are enjoying it as it flows through us and flows past us. This is why one of the things we say a lot here is the channel is blessed by that which flows through it, because we get to experience that joy, that love, that energy of God flowing through us as we help other people so much more powerfully than if we just try to get something for ourselves. And the first time I came up here to do a purification ceremony and do the blessing ceremonies, I was just trying to sort of imagine how transparent can I be? The masters are there. This is where the blessings are coming from. I have to provide a finger, but I don't want to be, mixing anything else into this. And so transparent was the image I was really trying to give myself. But the feeling I got then was that we are all in this temple just just marinating in a soup of blessings here. It's not something that happens at this particular touch. It's all around us. It's filling this temple up to the rafters. And the more clear and calm you get, like that affirmation, I will hold myself up to the calmness within, the more you start just realizing, wow, this is all around us everywhere. And this finger, it's providing a focal point, and it's giving us an excuse to go, oh, yes, I am getting blessed now, but all those blessings are right there already. And this is just reminding us, and it's just right there, focus, that clarity, that we are all constantly in that blessing. And again, this isn't just for light bearers. This is something all of us here as members of a congregation and as a spiritual community, we are all providing some form of this service. It takes, dozens of people to run a Sunday service here with the blessers and the chanters and the ushers and the sound people. But even with all of them, it wouldn't happen without everybody in the seats. It would be a very different experience without all of you. And you are all as much a part of this experience for everybody else as we are if you decide to be aware and allow yourself to be a channel for everybody. And it's really a fascinating experience to go through a Sunday service like this and don't just think about what's happening here, but imagine yourself transparent. Feel the light, the blessings flowing not just into you, but through you. Maybe imagine that you're a prism, so it's refracting out and radiating out to everyone all around you. And then be open and receptive to the people around you who are also doing that. And it just becomes this feedback loop of greater and greater blessings and deeper experiences for all of us. And so I would invite you all to think about that in this service, particularly when we come up for the blessing at the end. Don't just take the blessing and go, but feel it flowing through and bless everybody around you as you're standing in line, as you're sitting waiting for your turn. Just keep being that open channel and see what the experience is like. And then remember, when we're not at church, the same thing can be happening. God isn't only here. God is everywhere else. This experience with everybody doing it lets us see what it's like. But if you can carry it out into the world, you can keep expanding those blessings more and more and more. So, God bless you all.
Of woodland, of mountain and field, come shower on us blessings and light. The wonders that nature befriended can yield, reveal to our hearing and sight. Your melodies whispering joy on the air, affirm that God's everywhere. O devas of woodland, of mountain and field, be with us in blessing this night. You devas of woodland, of mountain and field, come shower on us blessings and light. The wonders that nature befriended can yield, reveal to our hearing and sight. Your melodies whisper laws of woodland, of mountain and field, be with us in blessing this night.